Karen, keep an eye on the folder in the back over here. I will attach these files to an email for you, including the XML. Peter already knows what's going on here, and just for your information, has already written the API to copy the files that will appear in this folder into the local location. So we don't have anything here, so I'm just going to call this J0001. Currently, he has access to AX, and when we type a random number in here, AX is already saying the number doesn't exist because, well, obviously it doesn't exist in AX. Alright, so let's just load up something for now. Let's grab a ring size. There, so we've got the ring size, and let's get the gem list. Okay, let's start adding the parts. So, Peter, this is where you pay attention because the code you've got doesn't do this yet. Okay, so I'm going to add this part, which is a bottom of a shank. So we've got the picture, we're in there. It's yellow gold example, and this is a back or setting, let's call it a shank. So you can see that in here, for Karen's information, I've started actually physically saving out the files. So as the user already hit that, the file part0.stl showed up, and the JPEG associated to that STL is already in there. So I'll try and zoom this in a little bit more so you can see it. So the part image, the JPEG, everything is in there. That's the STL file, and that's the JPEG for it. Okay, so if we just check that, you'll see that your JPEG image is in there. Alright, so let's add a few more parts. Let's add that. Now what's happening in the background is it's busy calculating a complete boolean for all these parts. It's doing the whole lot and getting an accurate volume. I'm going to call that a top just for fun, and we only want a quantity of one of them, and we want a quantity of one of them. And Peter, for your information, you see that the actual JPEG image in the background, as you're changing the numbers now, they want 2 extras. It'll actually update on the image. Okay, so that image is copied through, you don't have a problem. And then we have a third part, which is the collet. So we're going to select the part, and it'll boolean it all together, get the accurate, so the image is correct. So you can see the part has showed up in there. I've got a preview for STLs. So what you're looking at over here, that's the actual STL file. The part that was captured, that's the image of it. There's the part that was captured, there's the image of it. So far you have all those files inside there. The last thing we're going to ask the user to do before they exit out of here is they have to define the master image for the entire thing. That's going to pop open a little window off screen over here. They're going to rotate it until the master view looks good. Press enter, they're happy with it, save it. And if a stone map is relevant to this, let's grab the stone map. So the window pops open again, and I select the stones that I want to work with. There's those stones, and that stone. And so now we just orient the parts so that the setter can see there's a 5 mil stone there, there's a 1.1s, 1.2, 1.3s, those bottom two are 1.2s, and these are 1.3s. So that's the only view that they really need to see. So once we're happy with all of that, you can see as we're doing this, the actual images are updating in the background. So there's your stone map inside there with the numbers, it's already saved. The last functionality we built inside here is our CAD team have the approval image which went to the client. Now I don't have one locally, but basically it's an A4 page which has like a kind of a technical drawing of the part. It has a thickness of the shank, and they want hand-rolled mill grain, whatever notes there are about this job in a drawing. It's the physical drawing that went to the customer to approve the job. They would add that through this button over here because it exists somewhere else. So I'm going to grab, I don't know, for example, let me go to my desktop. That's a really cool motorbike. So I'm going to grab the picture of the motorbike, and let's pretend it's a spec sheet for now. Alright, so it'll be added through the back here as the spec sheet, the part. You've got the main ticket image, you've got the stone image, you've got the whole Katudis in there. And now Peter has already written the code that moves on from here. When you click, in his version, when you click Generate XML, it actually immediately copies all these files out into the correct directory structure, and it speaks to AX to say, can I send it to you? So that's where we're at now. So I believe by Monday, Tuesday, we should be okay. I'm going to actually generate that XML record. I'm just going to call it test for video. and then I'll attach it to the same email along with all those files. So that's on my desktop. Let's save it. Let's have a look what's in it. Open with Notepad, sorry. Open with Microsoft Edge, come on. Alright, so the questions to Karen is, we have CAD number, J0001. We don't understand what item ID is. What is the difference between what we call a CAD number and what you call an item ID? The size code I've got in there for you is the correct size code for a round. The code for bangles will be in by this weekend. So what Peter will do is he will actually read this code. He will copy all the files that are inside here, the main ticket, the stone map, the spec sheet, the actual parts that are in there. He will copy out to a new folder, okay, and give it to you. And that's about the end of your involvement with us. So all those parts are now listed in there. The stones are in there, 1.2s, 1.1s, the 4 mils, the whole katoots. Now back to Peter. That's not the end of it for us, okay? So I'm just going to fake out something. Shukri needs to print this. So what he's going to do, I'm just going to use a sphere for this exercise. He's going to be putting supports onto this part. Now I don't need to know, and AX doesn't want to know what the weight of the supports are. We want to know what the net weight is, so it's important that we differentiate these files. But I'm going to now allow him for that shank to add a separate file that includes the supports. So when he clicks that, he's going to select the support, which is this new geometry, and the shank. He's going to press enter, and he's just going to get a thing that's saying the part was successfully saved. All right, it's showing up over there. You can see the main part is J0001 part 0.stl. Now this is the thing that the volume was calculated and the weight for the part was calculated from. You can see in here there's the little round sphere. This is the supported part that Shukri needs. Now you can do the same thing for every part of this. I'm just going to hide that. Because he's going to need to put supports onto this part as well, so I'm going to again just do the same thing. I'm going to put a sphere in there. It's actually a lot more complicated than that, but just so that we know what we're talking about. So for this part he's going to add those supports. So that's all done. All right, and I'm going to add a sphere for this part too. I'm going to just copy the same one actually. I'm going to stick it in the back over there, and for this part he's going to add a support file. So your support file is that. Okay, so if we go back to that folder, you will now see that we have the head, the original head, and we have the head with supports. We have the picture of the original head without supports, and we have the volume of that. So the same thing over here. We have the top section, and we have the file with the supports. We have the shank and the shank with the supports. So if I export the XML now, there's a bunch of new information in there. So I'm going to overwrite the original XML and then open it. Open with Microsoft Edge. I'm adding a new line in here called support file, which AX doesn't need to know about, but Peter needs to know about, because the working file that's going to be misprinted or not misprinted is this one, the one that we actually put onto the printer, including the supports. So if for every item we added a support file, there will be this tag inside there. I don't want to pass that to AX, but I do need to pass it to Peter to store for me for production purposes. Okay, so that's the only changes we have now, as of current. I think by Tuesday, our end of the API will be complete. Okay, so Peter, over to you, mate. I've sent you this code push. That includes everything except the last thing that Shukri asked for. He wanted the actual file save for the master file as a separate button, just in case the customer sent us a dual CAD file. He can't work with the dual CAD file, nor do we want to know about the dual CAD file, so you would have to convert it in dual CAD, bring it into Rhino, and then save out the main file. So it's not always going to be a 3DM. So I removed the functionality of that button, which is going to live over here, where my mouse is now, and I'm rebuilding that this weekend. Should be finished by the end of this weekend. Okay, all. Cheers. Bye.